Why do so many mothers end up poor in old age? If you're a woman who has ever paused to wonder what motherhood means for your financial future, this episode is for you. We're unpacking the real reasons behind the motherhood penalty, why financial security is an act of self-love, not selfishness, and most importantly, how you can take simple, practical steps starting today to protect your future and build abundance for you and your family. Welcome to the Doula Johanna podcast, where we reclaim our voice, our space, and our power, and learn to show up for ourselves with the same love and care we've always given to others. Think of this podcast as your little life doula, holding space, cheering you on, and offering tools for your next chapter. Today's topic is not an easy one, and it hits really close to home for me. Because for most of my adult life, I had zero financial education. Wait a minute, that sounds like I had a lot of financial education when I was a kid, but I had none, ever. Growing up, I was told one core lesson: don't get into debt. And while that advice probably saved me from major mistakes, it didn't teach me how to build wealth. No one explained how to organize my money after every paycheck and how to separate fixed costs, savings, and investments, or that guilt-free spending was even a thing. Money always felt scarce, something to stretch just to get through the month. If I was lucky, maybe I'd save a little for a vacation. I had no idea how to set myself up for success for retirement. I took it seriously. I wanted to do it right. I worked with financial advisors, I signed contracts and set up monthly payments, believing I was being responsible and planning for my future. But here's what I didn't realize for far too long. I had handed over control to people who did not have my best interests at heart. Every single advisor I worked with sold me products that served their hidden commissions, not my financial well-being. Retirement insurance policies loaded with hidden fees, dismal returns, and almost nothing left after taxes. I sacrificed to make those payments each month, only to discover that I was losing. That was a painful and sobering realization. And here's the worst part. I thought that the problem was me. I thought I simply wasn't capable of making good financial choices. Real financial knowledge felt like a world reserved for money people, not for women like me. But that's the biggest lie I've unlearned, because no one will ever care about your future as much as you do. And the moment you start learning, even just the basics, you take back what those advisors took from you, your power. For most of my life, the idea of living an abundant life in the present or in retirement wasn't even on my radar. I didn't know a single mother who had entered old age as a wealthy woman, not one, until a dear friend introduced me to Ramit Sethi and his work. That was a real breakthrough for me. Suddenly, it wasn't just about facing uncomfortable financial truths. It was about realizing that I wasn't powerless. Yes, it hurt to confront the numbers, but it also gave me clarity. And with that clarity came something even more valuable: motivation. Motivation to change not just how I think about money, but how I actively build financial safety and freedom for myself and for my family. That's why this episode matters so much to me. Because if you've ever felt behind, confused, or even ashamed about money, you are not alone and you are not doomed. You're exactly where you need to be, aware and ready to change your story. Because here's a hard truth that doesn't get said enough. The gender pay gap we always hear about, it's not primarily about men versus women anymore. The real gap explodes after children arrive. It's called the motherhood penalty, and it's the single biggest financial factor holding women back. In Germany, women without children earn about 6% less than their male counterparts. Annoying, but not dramatic. But after becoming mothers, that gap can grow up to 61% over the course of their working lives. Let that sink in. Over 60%? Seriously? Why? When children enter the picture, women are overwhelmingly the ones who reduce their hours, take part-time jobs, or leave the workforce entirely, often for years. In Germany, around 66% of mothers with children under 18 work part-time. In contrast, only 6% of fathers do the same. And this isn't unique to Germany, even though Germany might be an especially extreme example. In the US, mothers earn about 70 cents to every dollar earned by fathers, a much larger gap than between women and men generally. After the first child, women's earnings drop by an average of 20%, while men's remain stable or even increase. The long-term consequences of this are missed promotions, slower career progression, reduced pension contributions, smaller social security payments, and less private wealth accumulation. This isn't about personal failure. It's a systemic problem deeply woven into our economies, tax codes, and cultural expectations. But here's the dangerous part. Because it happens slowly and quietly, many mothers don't notice it until decades later, when their pension forecast arrives and it's too late to course correct. Now, before we dive into the practical numbers, let me be very clear. I'm not saying all mothers should work full-time to avoid the motherhood penalty. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I've made the same choice myself. Working part-time, spending more time at home with my children, that's part of my definition of a rich life. That time is precious to me, and no financial gain could replace it. But here's the key. Choosing time with your children should not mean choosing long-term financial vulnerability. And I also want to stress, it doesn't have to be the mother who stays home. If your partner is the one stepping back from their career to care for your family, wonderful. But whichever partner accepts the opportunity cost of reducing their income, there's a simple truth. That person should be compensated. Why? Because caregiving work, whether done by a mother or a father, has real economic value, even if society tends to ignore it. It supports the family unit. It allows the other partner to continue earning. Compensation doesn't have to mean a paycheck from your partner. It means making sure you're set up for your future. It means agreeing as a couple that the caregiving partner has their own pension plan, investment, or long-term financial safety net in their name. Because life happens. People separate, people die, and whether you stay together or life takes a different turn, your financial future should not depend on hope alone. Your safety net is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And now, let me show you how to start building it with one simple calculation. Let's make this real and hopefully empowering. Imagine you're working part-time and earning, let's say, 2,000 euros per month. That would actually be an incredibly high part-time income for many mothers in Germany, but let's run with it. And let's say that for your retirement years, you will need at least 2,000 euros per month to cover your basic costs and maintain a decent quality of life. I know that with today's inflation rate, this number has probably to be much higher, but for the sake of simplicity, let's go with it. Your expected state pension may be only around 1,000 euros or 1,200 per month, leaving you with a monthly gap of roughly 1,000 euros. Now here's the wake-up call. If you have 25 years left until retirement and you start investing today, you'll need to invest about 350 to 400 euros every month to bridge that future gap, assuming that you invest in index funds with an annual return of 8% on average. I know, that number can feel devastating. I'm in the same situation, but here's what I want you to remember. This gap isn't your fault. It's not the result of poor choices. It's the silent cost of prioritizing your family, the motherhood penalty in action. Learning about it doesn't create the problem. Ignoring it is what keeps you powerless. Awareness gives you the chance to act. Maybe you're thinking, well, that's all fine and dandy, Johanna, but I cannot possibly spare 400 euros per month. That's okay. Most of us can't. Start smaller, with whatever amount you can manage. 50, 100, even 20 euro. Automate that amount into a simple index fund. Increase it as life allows. If you're partnered, however, especially if your partner works full-time where you're home more, your very first conversation should be with them. Because let's be honest, your unpaid labor at home, raising the children, running the household, is what makes their full-time work possible. You've taken on the opportunity cost of stepping back from paid employment to support your shared life. That's not just love, that's economic contribution. And that's why, if you can't personally cover the full amount needed for your retirement investments, your partner should be the first person you turn to. Not because you're asking for help, but because it's only fair. If they have the resources, they should not only be willing, but proactive in helping secure your retirement. After all, you've been investing in their career and your family every day. This isn't charity, it's respect. It's appreciation in action. So if you haven't yet, sit down with your partner, explain the gap. Talk about a retirement fund in your name as a joint responsibility, a shared commitment to your future well-being. Frame it as what it truly is, an acknowledgement of your invisible labor and a promise to ensure you are financially secure whatever life brings. Because whether you stay together forever, separate, or one partner passes away first, you deserve safety and dignity. This isn't about mistrust. It's about wisdom. By starting, even with small steps, even with uncomfortable conversations, you reclaim your financial power. You're doing what generations of mothers before us didn't even know was an option. And most importantly, you're modeling something powerful for your children. You're showing them that caring for them is worth something and that you have a responsibility to look out for your future. That is not too much. It's responsible. It's loving. It's how you create abundance that lasts beyond your lifetime. Money is not just about numbers. It's about safety, freedom, and peace of mind. When you reclaim your financial power, you're not just securing your own future. You're creating a legacy of abundance for your children. Talking about money openly breaks cycles of scarcity, ignorance, and shame. You don't need a fancy financial advisor to figure this out. ChatGPT or any other AI tool can be incredible resources for running these calculations in minutes and for giving you solid recommendations for appropriate index funds or ETFs to invest in. Your homework this week: plug your own numbers into a retirement gap calculator using AI. It will take 5 minutes, and I promise you, doing this simple exercise puts you ahead of so many people. And even if it will take you a while until you can save the full amount necessary to set yourself up for success in retirement, it is still worth starting today. You deserve abundance in your life, now and in your old age. I know that this episode can be hard to digest. Believe me, I am right there with you. It can hurt to face those numbers, but not facing them would hurt you so much more in the long run. To close this powerful series about abundance, join me again next week for a guided abundance meditation designed to keep you motivated and grounded in your journey toward financial and personal abundance. Until next week, take care and remember to be your own life doula.